Why survivors don't speak up about narcissistic abuse. Hello and welcome to my channel, Empress of Light 2. My name is Lisa. In this video, I want to discuss why survivors of narcissistic abuse stay silent about the abuse they endured and how much power there is in telling your story. Narcissists thrive on control and power. Exerting that control over their victims gives them great satisfaction, and it's about the closest they ever come to feeling good, to feeling happy. When they know they are successfully manipulating someone, when they know they have someone believing their lies, buying into their fake facade and their false narrative, they love it. And once they have control, they never want to lose the control they have over their victims. So even after they discard someone and they move on to the next victim, they still want the former victim under their control. Now, if that victim had figured out the narcissist prior to the narcissist discarding them, and the victim chose to leave the narcissist themselves, well, this creates a huge injury for the narcissist and their fragile little ego. Not because they lost that person, but because they've lost control of that person. And they hate that. So the narcissist wants to be able to continue controlling you, even after you leave them or they leave you. And they attempt to do this by smearing you to others. If they can't control what you do, they want to control how others see you. Because the narcissist fears exposure. It's one of their biggest fears. Besides the loss of narcissistic supply, especially the main source of supply, their spouse or their partner, they fear being exposed. And in order to combat that fear, they start a smear campaign against you with the goal of keeping you quiet. And this works for many survivors of narcissistic abuse. Survivors fear coming forward and letting their story be known for several reasons. One of those reasons is the fear of not being believed. As a survivor, you know that if you speak the truth of what happened in the relationship, there's going to be those who don't believe you. And on top of that, the narcissist is spreading lies about you and your character to everyone they know. Number one being the new supply. And they're going to engage their flying monkeys to harass you, stalk you, and ridicule you. So the fear of revenge from the narcissist, from the flying monkeys, keeps many of us silent. And your silence is the narcissist's goal. They don't want you ruining their reputation with the truth. They need the outside world to continue believing that they are a wonderful person. They need others to believe they were the victim. And they need to use that sob story to fool the new supply and draw them in. But for you, the survivor, telling your story, speaking the truth of what happened to you, is healing. It's healing not only for yourself, but for others as well. Speaking up gives other survivors the courage to also speak up. It also helps to give other victims the courage to get away from the narcissist. Remember, the narcissist is going to launch a smear campaign no matter what, whether you speak up or not. The ex-narc I left was smearing me before I ever left him, and boy did that amp up when I did leave. Way before I created this channel, this narcissist had smeared me to everyone he knows, including my family, including my friends, and including sending a couple of nasty emails to my first husband and trying to smear me to him. And he did all of that to punish me, all because I dared to leave him. And he did all that. He got up on that smear campaign, even though I left quietly, no drama. And so for a while, I endured it. I endured the smear campaign until I didn't. When I left him, I spent my time healing and recovering from the abuse that I had endured. But eventually, I did call him out publicly. I have a video on what prompted me to do that, and I've dropped the link to that video in the description box. So his response was to amp up his smear campaign and incite his flying monkeys. I'm just going to say here that the flying monkeys are just as weak and pathetic as the narcissist, perhaps even more so. The flying monkeys are ignorant, and they don't know how ridiculous they come across. Hey, they weren't there. They didn't live what you lived. The ones that came at me had either never met me or they met me only briefly. And these are individuals who think they know the narcissist, but they don't. Their communication with him is via the telephone, and one of them hasn't even seen him in decades. Look, narcissists will treat strangers or people they don't know well better than they treat those closest to them. And truth can withstand scrutiny. Ignore the flying monkeys. They aren't your friends anyway, and they never were. The people who know you, the people who love you, they do believe you. So share your story. You don't have to create a YouTube channel. You don't have to post it up on social media, but tell someone. Your voice wasn't heard when you were with the narcissist. Your voice didn't matter to the narcissist. Your voice was silenced when you were with them. Don't allow them to scare you into silence now. Now, just as a disclaimer, depending on the narcissist you dealt with, it's understandable if you do choose to stay silent, at least publicly. If you have to maintain some degree of contact with them because of children, etc., I don't recommend creating havoc in the lives of the kids, which that will certainly do. And since those of you who do share children with the narcissist, you're already fully aware that that narcissist has no problem at all using your children as pawns and playing them against you. They could care less about the damage that they do even to their own kids. And if you live close to them and fear a violent response from them, you know them better than I do, keep yourself safe. Your safety is of the utmost importance. But if you can do so safely, speak your truth. Tell your story. Let your voice be heard. Take back your power and annihilate the control they have over you. You got out. You survived. Your voice helps give others the strength to do the same. When I was learning about narcissism and began recognizing narcissistic behavior in my husband, I read everything I could on the subject. I binge watched YouTube videos on narcissistic abuse, and I was amazed that others were dealing with the same thing I was. And more than that, they were describing my exact circumstances. So many of their voices helped me to get out and to heal. Now, there's a video that's put out by another YouTube creator that addresses exactly what I'm talking about here in this video. And I suggest watching her channel. Her name is, she goes by Just Say No to Narcs. And I'm dropping a link to her video entitled Narcissistic Abuse, the Fear of Not Being Believed When You Tell Your Story. Listen to her take on this subject. I, for one, am so grateful for the creators of these YouTube channels regarding narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And if you listen to some of these awesome creators, you're going to see a pattern. You're going to hear the same kind of stories, and you're going to hear the same kind of advice that you hear on this channel. Now, we all have our own personal styles, but the message is largely the same. You can't fix them. They won't change. And get out. If my voice, my story, if it helps one person escape the hell of living with a narcissist, then the telling of my story was worth it for me. If I can help save another person from going through what I went through, then the telling of my story was worth it. Look, you operated out of fear while you were in the relationship with that narcissist. Don't allow fear to continue to rule your life. Don't allow the narcissist or their pathetic little cohorts to shame you into silence. Even if you're not believed by some people, who cares? They don't matter, and they have nothing to offer to you or your life. The majority of them will soon enough see very clearly for themselves who that narcissist really is, and they're going to know that you spoke the truth. I mean, like in my case, you'd think that if someone went to the trouble of creating a platform to speak out on their abuse, that in itself would be convincing that the abuse really did happen. I mean, why would anyone put forth the effort and the time that it takes to create a channel on narcissistic abuse if they hadn't experienced it and if they weren't passionate about telling the truth and helping other people? Now, of course, only logical individuals capable of reasoning are going to figure that out. Those who continue living in denial will not. You can only help those who are looking for help, And so many victims are desperately looking for help and desperately looking for guidance, and they're seeking validation. There is strength in your words and there's power in your voice. Stay strong, speak the truth, and allow the lies to come to light. It may take time, but the truth always surfaces eventually. Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen, and may you all have a very blessed day.